Hey guys, Chatting with Chops here. Have you ever made scones before? Well, today we're gonna make some cherry chip scones, and I'm gonna show you how to make them vegan too. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing we need to do is sift together our dry ingredients. And we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, okay. Oh, if I wasn't a messy cook, I wouldn't be one at all. All right, and then we're gonna put in our sugar, which we have a 1/2 cup of sugar. That just about sifted itself, didn't it? How interesting. I got a few granules that don't want to sift. But we definitely, well, we don't want to use those. All right, and then we're going to put in our 2½ teaspoons of baking powder. And then we have our 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay. You always want to stir this after you've combined them like that, because you just don't want anything sitting, like a whole teaspoon of baking powder sitting in one scone. So you just really want to give it a good stir. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut up some of our butter. We have 6 tablespoons of butter here. The recipe is very emphatic that it be cold butter. So this is fresh out of the fridge. And I'm just going to try and cut up this a little bit before I put it in my flour mixture, because we're going to need to get it all crumbly when it's in there. So the smaller I make it before it makes it into the bowl, the better. So you see, I'm just cutting it into little tiny pieces. And this will be the first step that I mentioned, the first ingredient I mentioned, that you can use vegan butter. And yes, vegan butter does come in sticks, so you don't have to measure it out perfectly. All right, so our next step is we want to cut this butter up into the mixture until it looks kind of like crumbs, which I have one of these these are a little bit sharp, and this is what you usually use for like pie crust and stuff when you're cutting the butter in. But if you don't have one of these, you can just use a fork. You don't have to have these fancy equipment. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure you can probably find one of these at like Walmart or Target, or, you know, if you do have a kitchen supply store, that would be fantastic. But again, you can use a fork too. You don't have to have anything fancy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our yogurt and our milk in. So we have our dry ingredients. Now we're going for our wet. And we have 1 cup of vanilla yogurt. And you can definitely find vegan yogurt. So this is just 1 cup of vanilla. And then we have our 1/4 cup of milk. And again, you can use vegan milk. And then we're just going to stir this until I've got everything all mixed in. And yes, I'm doing this rather gently because I don't want to fling it all over my kitchen, which is still very likely. Again, if I was starting my channel today, I would probably just call it the Messy Cook. Kudos to anyone who already has the name of that on their channel. See, I'm just trying to make sure that the majority of my dry ingredients are mixed in with my wet. All right, so the next step, what we need to do is we need to knead in our cherries and chips. Okay, so what we have here, we have 1 1/3 cups of dried cherries that we're gonna put in. Yep, we're fixing to get our hands dirty, but just trying to use the spatula for the moment. All right, and then we're gonna put in our 2/3 cup white baking chips. And again, if you can find vegan baking, vegan white baking chips, which I have found before, then you can also use those as vegan. I will quite honestly say vegan baking is not as hard as it used to be, but I think the problem has always been vegan baking is not hard. It's finding the ingredients that you can use. So, all right, now we're gonna get our hands dirty. I just wanna make sure I have everything nice and mixed in and got a good dough. It smells lovely. Okay, so that looks wonderful. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it on our slip mat. You can use a greased cookie sheet. I'm using a slip mat. Okay, so we have our oven preheating to 400 degrees, and now it's telling me we need to pat this into about a 9-inch circle. And I thought I would show you actually with a tape measure where we are right now. So we're at 7. Yep, we're at about 7 inches right now. So we don't need to pat it down very far. It doesn't need to be. Let's see what that does. Oh, perfect, exactly. I'm at 9 inches. All right, so now the next thing it says is to cut it into 8 wedges. And I'm going to use a pizza cutter, but you can just use a regular knife. So if we do 4, 6, 8, yep, okay. All right, so it's telling me we need to separate the wedges out a little bit. Try just using my little spatula here. See if we can't just bring them out a little. Let's not lose that cherry. Just so that the center is not, they're not all on top of each other. I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here. There seems to be a little bit of a squish in the middle here that we will need to make sure it ends up. There we go. Let's just incorporate that into that scone. We worked hard on this dough. We don't want to lose any of it. Okay. And I'm just kind of spreading them back a little bit. Another cherry there that's trying to escape. All right. Now, that also has helped me make sure that nobody's actually stuck to the slip mat too. Okay? So the next thing we need to do is we need to brush the remaining milk. So it says you can use like 2 tablespoons of milk or vegan milk. I just poured a little bit in a bowl, so I don't really know how much is here. I'm just going to use what I need. I'm just going to brush that on each one. Okay. And then we're going to put these in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes until they're beautiful golden brown. Oh my gosh, guys, look at how incredibly these turned out. They are so beautiful. No idea that they would get so big though. They've kind of, I thought I was spreading them out so that they wouldn't stick, but oh my goodness, they are still very much spread out. They are just absolutely beautiful. The recipe says to serve them warm. I'm definitely going to do that, but I think I'm going to give them a minute since they just came out of the oven. But I'm just trying to cut them separate a little bit just so that they're not stuck together. Oh my goodness, look how fantastic. Ooh. Oh, those are beautiful. Whoops. I'm so excited to try those. They are just gorgeous. All right, let's let them cool for just a minute. All right, here is our beautiful cherry chip scone. And they're super thick and just gorgeous. I am so impressed with this recipe. And now we're going to try a bite. And yes, I'm using a fork. You probably could just, and these are really nice too. You can cut these in half and put jam or preserves or butter, or I would just say whatever you normally could put on a biscuit. I don't know that I'd put gravy on this though, because I think this is supposed to be more sweet, like a pastry. So kind of in between like a Danish and a biscuit. I don't know, but let's try it. Ooh, that's nice. Nice big bite. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's like heaven on a plate. That is just incredible. Again, I'm loving these recipes I'm getting lately. Not super, super sweet, but there is like that hint of that white chocolate in there, that little bit of sugar, but just the, and it's not really like moist and cakey. So just a great consistency. Awesome. This might be on my list of consistent bakes. But hope y'all like this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch y'all on the next bake.